If you're building anything on Ethereum, you know that your connection to the blockchain, well, it's everything. Today, we're going to demystify how to run your own powerful, dedicated gateway to the Ethereum network, right on Google Cloud. So let's dive in. So you start building your dApp, right? You're probably using a free shared RPC endpoint, and it works at first. But then your dApp starts getting serious, you get some users, and suddenly you hit a wall. Everything feels sluggish, transactions get stuck, people notice. So what's the alternative when that public infrastructure starts holding you back? Here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover why you'd even want your own node, look at the different types, then walk through the two main paths on GCP, self-hosting versus the managed route. After that, we'll talk security and wrap it all up with the big trade-off at the end. Okay, first up, why go through all this trouble in the first place? Look, free shared RPC nodes are an amazing starting point for the whole ecosystem, no doubt, but they come with some serious strings attached, especially when you're trying to move from a weekend project to a real production-grade application. These are the classic growing pains, right? Shared resources mean you're in a noisy neighborhood competing for bandwidth. That leads to rate limiting. Your app gets throttled just when it's starting to get popular. The performance is a total roller coaster, you have zero control over how it's set up, and yeah, there are real privacy concerns. But the worst part? If that shared node goes down, your dApp goes down with it. Period. So you've decided you need more power. Your next step is to really understand your options. It basically boils down to two key choices. Are you going with a shared or a dedicated node? And do you need a full node or an archive node? Let's break that down. Think of it like this. A shared node is kind of like using the Wi-Fi at a busy coffee shop. It's fine for checking your email, but you wouldn't want to run your business on it. A dedicated node, on the other hand, is your own private fiber optic line directly to the blockchain. You get exclusive access, consistent, blazing fast performance, and no one else is slowing you down. For any serious app, dedicated is pretty much a no-brainer. Now for that other big decision. A full node is what most dApps need. It holds all the recent data required to validate transactions and check the current state of things. But what if you need to look up a wallet balance from 3 years ago, or trace a smart contract's entire history? For that, you need an archive node. It stores literally everything, all the way back to the very first block. It's a beast, for sure, but it's absolutely essential for deep analytics or building something like a block explorer.
All right, so with those choices in mind, let's explore path number 1, self-hosting. This is the do-it-yourself route. This is for when you want maximum control and you're ready to roll up your sleeves and build your node from the ground up on Google Cloud.
So what does that actually look like? Well, first, you set up your core infrastructure on GCP, your virtual machine, a static IP, your firewall rules. Then, you configure that machine with a big old persistent disk for all that chain data. Next, you install your software, your execution client like Geth and your consensus client like Lighthouse. And then, you wait. The final step is syncing the chain, and trust me, you gotta be patient. This can take several days to finish. So, why on earth would you do all that work? Well, control is one reason, but cost is a huge one. This comment from a developer on Reddit says it all. A third-party service was gonna charge them $1,000 a month for their call volume. Their self-hosted setup? Around $60. When you're trying to scale, that is a massive, game-changing difference. But what if you hear all that and think, nope, I do not want to manage VMs and disks and client updates. What if you just want a reliable endpoint that you can point your dApp to and forget about? Well, that brings us to the second path, Google's fully managed service, Blockchain Node Engine. Blockchain Node Engine, or BNE for short, is designed to just take all that complexity off your plate. Google handles the deployment, the maintenance, the security, the monitoring, all of it. It basically lets you focus on what you're actually trying to do, build a great application, not become a full-time systems administrator. And here's the trade-off, laid out in simple terms. You pay a flat, hourly rate. A full node will run you just under 70 cents an hour. And if you need that beastly archive node, it's about $2.74 an hour. It's just straightforward, predictable pricing for a service that handles all the heavy lifting for you. So whether you build it yourself or use a managed service, getting your node up and running is really only half the battle. Now you have to protect it. Because an unsecured node isn't just a vulnerability, it's a massive, glowing target for anyone looking to cause trouble. You know, attackers usually get in by exploiting the basics. Weak passwords, firewalls that are too permissive, and software that hasn't been patched. They're constantly scanning for leaked credentials, like service account keys someone accidentally pushed to a public GitHub repo, and an RPC endpoint with no access rules. That's not just a vulnerability, it's a wide open door with a welcome mat in front of it. And look, protection isn't just about building walls, it's about active monitoring. You need to know the second something goes wrong. Using Google Cloud's Operations Suite, you can set up uptime checks and custom alerts that'll ping you the moment there's an issue. That means you can fix a problem, like a client crash, long before your users even have a chance to notice. So, as we start to wrap up here, it really all comes down to a fundamental choice for every single Web3 developer out there. How much control do you really need versus how much convenience do you want? And this decision has huge implications for the entire ecosystem. As these cloud giants like Google make it easier and easier to run nodes, it kicks off a really interesting debate. This comment from Reddit kind of gets to the heart of it. Is having another big, centralized provider actually a good thing? Does it add competition and make the network more resilient? Or does it pull us further away from those core decentralized ideals? And that's really the final question to chew on. These powerful, convenient tools, they absolutely accelerate development and make Web3 more accessible to more builders. But what's the long-term cost of that convenience? It's the central paradox that every single one of us has to navigate as we build out the future of this decentralized web.